So we're joined by Mahesh Narayanan, who's a director, writer, editor, too many names actually to add on to it. Thank you so much for talking to India today. Uh, Mahesh, I want to first start with this question about a crisis that Malayalam cinema is facing regarding the theatre response or the crowd coming to theatre. Like since this year if we see, we have had two big hits, Romanjam and 2018. But like, how do you see this issue? Like, how do you look to address this crowd? Because earlier we had people coming to watch in huge numbers, whether it's any type of film. But like right now, that's not the case. How do you look at this?
So my perspective is like ultimately after the pandemic, see people want something which has got a unique selling point. Like I always believe in that selling point. So they need to see like whether I should buy a ticket for this to watch it in theaters. They are going with that notion. So if at all like if something is like even with the first look and all, they analyze that like okay, this film I can watch it better in my house. That is one option, one problem what I'm facing. And also another thing is that mainly like if you take for example last year alone, we had too many releases, like more than 190 films got censored, I think. So out of that, there was a week, maybe like 9 films were there. So how many films an average cine lover will watch? That's a big question. So normally, what we all will consider that like 20 films will be considered as a person's maximum viewing. I'm not looking into the family and all, but on an average basis, an average cine lover will watch 20 films a year. So within this 20 list, you have to be there. So this is the appetite, and we are feeding with too many films. So that is another thing. Malayalam cinema is always into this midstream. Like it's neither this big commercial nor the very arty thing. So the midstream cinemas were running very well before the pandemic, and so now all of a sudden this midstream has shift. That is the multiplex thing. So this is shifted to houses because people have invested a lot in their home TVs and everything, and so and also the ticket prices. So they think that okay, to watch this film, it's not a theatrical experience. So the theatrical experience is a definite statement. So that has to be defined well. So we right now as filmmakers, we are all looking into a perspective where where I need to make a film which fits this 20. Say for example, since we mentioned about Romanjam is an engaging film. So engagement doesn't mean that it should be comedy also. It can be like scene to scene. A film engages you in a theater. It doesn't mean about like it should be less than 2 hours. That doesn't count. Like a 3-hour film can also be an engaging film. So that is the truth.
Now another question is, when we talk about Malayalam cinema, we have too much of realism element in Malayalam cinema. And if you look at the Tamil industry, it's an industry where both of it works, like art films like a Karnan or Vidudale, all these works, as well as mass entertainers also. Why is that not happening? Is it because of the audience alone? Because one thing is, when we look at a Karnan or Vidudale, there is also an attempt to elevate the entertainment factor also. It's not purely like art or serious mode. There are other elements that can be entertaining, but that we don't usually see in Malayalam cinema. How do you look at this? Like, why just a particular pattern of films only work?
Since the films you mentioned about like Karnan and Vidudale, I love both these films. Two of these directors are fabulous directors. Whether it be like Vetri is actually very fabulous. But the thing is that in terms of genre, if you look at it, these two films are genre films. First of all, like there is a violence, there is a kind of vengeance, betrayal. That drama is always there. So it all fits that Shakespeare template. So it is so Malayalam cinema like during a time period when people started understanding the pure essence of art, like we got back that old Jorsa's era, like or the Padmanajan era. And you should also consider that like not many Padmanajan films are hits. Like hardly like 2 or 3 films are massive hits, and some of them are really average, and some of them are biggest flops in his career. So in that manner, if you look at this time, like now after the pandemic, I think people are looking into genre based. Like genre in the sense like even if it's a thriller or even if it's an action genre, they want to see something which they have not tried, which they are not experienced. So this experience is something which we need to give them, right?
When we take films based on real incidents or inspired from real incidents, a film like 2018 or for your film Malik, Now, you make the film in your perspective, but of course, there was a criticism against 2018 that the role of government or political parties were not shown. Yeah, I mean, I was coming to that. Yeah. So, but what do you think about it? Is it just like a director's perspective, or is it okay from the crowd or the audience to expect real incidents also? Like when you take, especially subjects related to real incidents. Even Malik received a lot of problem. But like, how do you strike that balance? Is it just purely a filmmaker's perspective?
So I will tell you in this manner, like only politics. What a filmmaker believes is that humans, struggle. What is the basic reason? Like anything which is personal is becoming political. That is what is just happening right now. So when you make a cinema which has got a personal angle into it, where we are trying to elevate certain scenes, certain dramatic emphasis is being given to certain things. So it is fictionalized. Ultimately, it's fictionalized. So there should be a freedom where where a filmmaker has got this liberty to see. Texts are written, books are being written, and it's ultimately it's not a documentary we are making. It's a feature, and it has got just as you mentioned about all these Vidudalai or Karnan, those films also has got even Vetri has got this criticism when he made Vada Chennai. So it is always there. So people should be embracing all these things. It's apart from all these political driven statements or counters and everything. So take for example 2018. 2018 has got even though it is a film based on flood. There is a lot of heroic moments depicted there. So in reality, it's not that. In reality, there are lots of hardships being faced, lots of cries and agonies and deaths. So it is very limited for that. So people, when you're coming to theatre, they don't want to see all these things. They just want to get entertained. There should be goosebumps. There should be people have there should be whistles, claps. So we are catering to them.
While I was in college, I was a student of Bardwaj Rangan sir. So there was a big argument in class when he said that he loved Arjun Reddy. So there was a group of my classmates arguing that political correctness. So what he said was, cinema has no role to teach or change people. It's something that you learn from your home. Cinema is purely for entertainment. Where do you look? Like you come from the new breed of filmmakers where political correctness is talked a lot. How do you look at this balance?
See, my perspective is anything which is glorified, just for the sake of glorification, you can't add certain things. Glorification is something which is, if a character is like that, it is his character. He or she can be a bad person in reality, or a grey person. See, most of my characters in my films are grey people. So actually speaking, human beings are all grey. It is not like black and white. So normally in cinema there is a thing, especially in Indian cinema, that heroes are white and villains are black. There is nothing like that. There is a saying always when you say that he's a born criminal. There is no such person like a born criminal. A criminal has got a backstory. There is a purpose of becoming like a criminal. And when something like, since you mentioned about Arjun Reddy, I am not against a film, but about glorification, definitely. So that is a different kind of a perspective. So when you say, for example, films which has been portrayed very well by legendary actors like Mammootty or Mohanlal, so this how well it is received and how a person is interpreting that is very important.
I remember hearing once you said about, since you're an editor also, while editing a transition scene in Vishwarupam, there was an input from Kamal Hassan, which I think you used in Malik also. That is it. I don't know if I'm not. Correct me if I'm wrong. That one take shot. Was it actually a one take shot?
Take shot is actually not Kamal Sar's thing, but Kamal Sar has given me a lot of other inputs in terms of take for example for my first film. So my first film had Iraq. And I only had some close to 5.5 is my budget at that point, because Anyway, it's a a lot of people say your films are all very hard to see. There is no lighter emotions. There is no lighter moments in the film. It's very so people won't sit through that. So you have to make it in certain minimal. So I agree to that point. I'm not against that. Okay, I understand. But so when certain things happen, we take guidance from all these legendary people because Kamal sir is an assistant to Seidhu Madhavan sir, and he used to work with IVC sir and all the other Bharat Raja and Balu Mahendra. When certain things, like I will tell you an example of Vishwarupam, when Vishwarupam had an action sequence where we have choppers flying and attack. We call it as a first attack where US Black Hawks are actually bombing a specific area in Afghanistan. So it was shot entirely in Chennai and in Chennai outskirts. So there was a moment when when I was also there part of, because I'm an editor of that film, and also the DOP was also my friend. We were all having a discussion and we were asking, sir, but we should at least have choppers coming down and then doing this attack and everything. So how is it possible here? So he was very clear, very well explaining it with a drawing and all. How many shots you will see a chopper and the ground together? It was a great reveal for us, because okay, hardly 3 shots or 4 shots. Okay, for just these 4 shots, what do you want to shoot like that? Okay, these 4 shots we can achieve it, and rest everything we can create it. So this is the thing, cinema is make believe. So we often believe in this what to say, minimal budget filmmaking. Even if it's a bigger film, the minimalistic approach of making a film definitely counts. That is the strength of Malayalam cinema. See, films like Nadu and like by Shashi sir, we made in like 18 days and 19 days. Like how it's a huge process, and it's not easy for a filmmaker to achieve that. So they have achieved it. So that's the route where we're going. We are slowly aiming. Yeah.
So when are we seeing a Kamal Hassan Mahesh Narayanan film anytime
That
soon?
is still there. I think Kamal sir has announced it already in an interview also. But we are still it's a script by Kamal sir, and it will take time, and so we have time. We have enough time, so it will come soon.
Thank you so much.